Overwhelming success on Saturday for the majority of the handicappers at the site, as just about everyone had the Eagles and the Patriots as well. So I hope you all made money. I certainly am happy because not only did I have the Eagles, but also here on the video report gave you a perfect 3-0 sweep. Told you the Patriots were the way to go against Tennessee. And then in college basketball, continued my red hot roll, giving you two SEC winners with Tennessee and Auburn, 7-1 roll with the complimentary plays since last Tuesday. And today I'm going to break down the game between Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. Hey, before I get going, let's quickly set the stage for who's got the big play today. And guys, I told you yesterday that Tommy Brunson, should he win his 150 dime play, the second biggest NFL release he's had since joining the site back in September, he was going to up the ante today. Well, he did so, improving to 10-2 with those plays, calling for the Eagles' outright upset of Atlanta a week after cashing with Tennessee's outright upset of Kansas City, improving to 10-2 with those plays since joining the site today. Second 200 dime play. That's the biggest play he's had since joining the site. It goes today on Minnesota, New Orleans. His only other 200 dime release was the Baltimore Ravens, a 6.5-point road favorite over the Cleveland Browns, 27-10 on December 17th. You get it today. Save $65 in the process by using coupon code 200DIMER, 200DIMER. Also, props going out to Eric Schrader because yesterday, for the third straight day, hitting a 100 dime play. Thursday and Friday, it was in basketball. Yesterday, of course, it was the Patriots. Today, upping the ante for him, his fourth ever 200 dime double your wager NFL release since he joined the site on the early game between Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. As he goes for a fifth straight winning day, you get it for over half price off by using the coupon code PLAYOFFS. To put it in perspective, it's 5 times bigger than his second straight 60 dime national championship game winner on Georgia, plus the points against Alabama on Monday night. All the other coupons, etc., are over on the homepage. Before I get to your complimentary play, just a quick couple of observations here from the Eagles game yesterday, which, of course, being a lifelong Eagles fan, I watched closer than any other playoff game yesterday or in this postseason. But a couple of things struck me as very strange. And as a lifelong Eagles fan, you are certainly aware in the Philadelphia area of the miracle in the Meadowlands, the 1978 play where Joe Pisarcik, then of the New York Giants, instead of taking a kneel down in the 1978 game, botched a handoff to then running back for the Giants, Larry Zonka. Herm Edwards scooped up the fumble, returned it for a touchdown, and the Eagles pulled off the miracle in the Meadowlands. So you saw at the end of that game, if the fourth down pass from Matt Ryan fell incomplete in the end zone to Julio Jones, the Eagles were backed up there practically on the 1.5-yard line. Great encroachment call, thanks to a hard snap count by Nick Foles, getting the Falcons defensive player to jump offside. So it advanced the ball up to about the 6.5, 7-yard line. 58 seconds to go in the game. 58 seconds, and the Falcons had 2 timeouts. Now, I didn't hear anybody on the TV broadcast mention it, and I don't expect them probably to mention it. I didn't hear any of the Philadelphia announcers in the postgame wrap mention it either. But I'm sitting there and I'm going, what the hell are you guys doing? Handing the ball off to the rookie running back out of Wisconsin on the first down play. I was amazed. I'm going, kneel the ball down. It's on the 6.5, 7-yard line. Falcons, 2 timeouts, 58 seconds to go. Okay, 1st and 5. The rookie got the first down for you, a 5-yard pickup. Got the first down. And then they subsequently kneel down twice, let the Falcons burn off their timeouts. Game was finally over. But I'm thinking, do you guys not have any sense of history that bad things happen, especially when you're handing off the ball, potentially in those situations to a rookie running back as well? Yeah. Didn't they remember on the ensuing series when they had the botched communications down there and Foles was lucky to recover the mishap when the ball dropped and, was able to pick it up? It wasn't a touchdown because they ruled he was down at the 1-yard line, and ultimately Garrett Blount went in for a touchdown. Actually, it was a couple of series earlier. Yeah, bad things happen when you hand off the ball, especially in your own ends, deep in your own territory. And then the other thing I didn't understand from the Eagles' perspective yesterday, LeGarrette Blount, you heard Tony Romo and the guys talk about, what a monster he is down by the goal line, 18 touchdowns last year for the Patriots. That guy doesn't exist anymore. First 4 or 5 games this season, he really showed what he was a year ago. But as the season progressed, this guy wasn't that productive. If you're a fantasy player, you probably know it as well as I do. Yes, he scored a rushing touchdown yesterday. But generally, I mean, I don't have to be a defensive coordinator that when I see that guy comes in and he lines up about 7 yards behind the quarterback, it's like, oh, they're going to hand off the ball to you-know-who again. And he's going to plow right up in the middle, and he's going to get 3 yards. Jay Ajayi was the guy that had the hot hand. You could see with the burst of speed. You could see with that, God, he looked like a bowling ball going for the 7-10 split sometimes, how he just burst into the line and he made things happen. True, he had that fumble in the second play from scrimmage for the Eagles early, but he redeemed himself. And he had that great catch and run from Foles that really put them, what was like a 38-yard catch and run there in the fourth quarter that set them up for their 1 touchdown. But he didn't get the bulk of the carries in the second half. And it just, I don't know. I just wonder, for as good of a game as Doug Peterson called it, just mind-blowing that Ajayi didn't get the bulk of the carries in the second half of that game, and Blount was in there constantly. Anyway, let's talk about this game and a couple of wild card or divisional round stats for you. But first, breaking down the game, we know what happened the first time around. I certainly remember what happened because I was on Pittsburgh that day when Ben Roethlisberger threw the 5 interceptions, including back-to-back picks that were returned for touchdowns. A lot of questions in this game from the Steelers' perspective because Antonio Brown is going to probably try to play with the cold weather. Is that calf injury going to hold up? But here's the thing with the Steelers. It's not like they don't have alternatives offensively. With the emergence of Juju Schuster-Smith and Martavius Bryant, they certainly have alternatives at the receiver spot. And ultimately, I think today is a day that they've got to give Le'Veon Bell the ball and call his number 25 to 30 times. Because in the first matchup, for some odd reason, they decided to attack a Jacksonville defense, which is so strong against the run with that pass rush, which is good, instead of attacking the soft spot of the Jacksonville D, which is their run defense, which ended the regular season ranked 21st against the run, giving up 4.3 yards per carry and 116 yards a game. And you saw Shady McCoy, LaShawn McCoy last week for Buffalo on a gimpy ankle, a guy who really was questionable even to be playing and probably was no more than 75% admittedly for that game last week. He had his way with that Jacksonville defense on the road with a very productive 19 carry, 75-yard performance. Well, if I'm the Steelers offensive coordinator, Todd Haley, I am calling Le'Veon Bell's number at least 25 times today. He's got to have that many carries. And that's going to make Ben Roethlisberger so much more effective. And that's going to keep the Jaguars defense on their heels today in this contest. Now, defensively, obviously, you saw Blake Bortles struggle once more. You saw a Jacksonville team that continually failed on the road down the stretch. You saw them fail at Tennessee. You saw them fail at San Francisco. You saw them fail at Arizona. And I thought last week that they would come up and rebound at home, but they played miserably at home against Buffalo. And what did the Bills do? They decided to stack the middle. They decided to sell out against the run. And the Bills are a horrific team stopping the run. But they bottled up that Jacksonville offense. And really, the Jacksonville offense last week consisted of Blake Bortles' scrambles. He had 89 yards rushing and only 88 yards passing. And how many times did you hear Tony Romo last week in the commentary say that Bortles clearly lacked confidence? Now, it has something to do with the fact that his offensive line protection was constantly breaking down. It has something to do with the fact that his wide receivers, well, that group, not much to choose from talent-wise. Now, the Steelers' pass rush is The Steelers' secondary is good, especially since Joe Hayden returned from the broken leg. And Bortles, 5 interceptions and 1 touchdown in his last 3 games. And that Jacksonville ground game so productive earlier in the season, well, Leonard Fournette has worn down, like so many rookie running backs do. 357 yards rushing and only 3.1 yards per carry in the last 5 games. I don't see him having a big productive game in the cold outside against the Steelers today. Granted, the Steelers have some problems stopping the run, but I don't see Fournette and the Jaguars having a good game today. I can see why this line is where it is at 6.5, 7 points. And I can see why a lot of people are jumping on the Jaguars because of what happened in the first go round. But if I'm playing this game, I'm taking Pittsburgh. Now, after the first game, Ben Roethlisberger, after the game, said that maybe he didn't have it anymore. He had some self-doubt. I came on this video and said that was the last time I would be putting money on the Pittsburgh Steelers because I never heard Brett Favre. I never heard Joe Namath. I never heard some of the great gunslingers that played quarterback after a game that they had a miserable performance say, hey, maybe I don't have it anymore, questioning their confidence. And the next day, he, of course, backtracked. And, you can say things in the heat of the moment, but that's not what I want my quarterback, a guy that I'm investing money on. And I went back on my proclamation. And one game I did bet the Steelers this season. It was the disaster against the Cincinnati Bengals where they found themselves down 17-0, rallied, and failed to cover. So I have no problem telling you to take the Steelers today as a complimentary play, but I want to put my money on them. That's another situation. But I do like Pittsburgh at home here today, minus the points. They were 6-2 at home on the season, and despite the injuries, I think Pittsburgh is the way to go. I would wait till closer to game time to bet this game. I normally say bet the favorites 99% of the time immediately and the underdogs late, but this is a situation that I think the public will continue to take Jacksonville's side. And as you get closer to game time, you might find this line drops a bit at 7.5. I'm obviously going ahead and buying down the half point on the Steelers, but you may find that as you wait to get closer to kickoff, that you might not have to buy that half point potentially if you shop around at different sports books because this line might drop anyway. Now, in terms of ATS trends in the postseason, let me just quickly remind you these updated numbers after the results of yesterday's games. If you didn't get them after the wild card Dogs won a perfect 4-0 in the semifinals, if you go back to 1975 when the home field advantage was finally determined by the one-loss record, here are the significant ATS trends. Underdogs of 3 points or less are now 6 games over 500, courtesy of the Eagles' outright win yesterday. Favorites of 10 to 13.5 points are now 6 games over 500, thanks to the Patriots blowout. Home teams, 168 games played now, are now 9 games over 500 versus the spread after Saturday's sweep. Home favorites, and there's been 161 of them going back to 1975, are now only just 6 games over 500 spread-wise after New England's cover. So you're not talking about a huge, overwhelming dominance here by the home teams. Of the 170 games, however, played since 1975, 116 of them, 68.2%, have been decided by at least a touchdown because this is the blowout round, which makes perfect sense because you have the conference favorites, the division winners, usually rested, playing at home, the cream of the crop playing, right? So naturally in this round you have blowouts. So 170 games played now since 1975. 68.2% of them have been decided by at least a touchdown. 85 of them, 50% of them, have been decided by at least 11 points. 71 of them, 41.7% of them, have been decided by at least 2 touchdowns. By the way, number 1 seeds, 11-5 straight up and 6-10 only against the spread the past 8 years, thanks to both covering yesterday. Home chalks, that's you, Pittsburgh and Minnesota. You're still only 5-3-1 against the spread the past 2.5 years after the Patriots cover yesterday. Road dogs, 7 games over 500 versus the odds makers since 2004 after Tennessee got trounced last night. Now, if you go back to 1990, since that time when the playoffs field was expanded in this particular round, double-digit favorites. Now, we're not dealing with that today, but they're 14-8 against the spread. The last 15-8 against the spread, the last 5 covering, thanks to the Patriots last night. In terms of totals, well, let's see. What did we have last night? You had a split, a 1-1. The Patriots getting the late overage, thanks to the Tennessee garbage time touchdown. So you have a 20-10 roll with the totals going over the posted price, 3 of 4 going over last year, and a 1-1 split yesterday. So those are your ATS trends. I wish you well, guys. I'm going with, again, the Steelers today, and we'll talk again tomorrow.